Welcome to this week's episode of Goals Do Come True with me, Doug Bennett, the Goals Guy. Today I am so pleased to be joined by Lisa Catto. She is known as the Queen of Automation because she's been automating stuff since before it was even a thought of thing, right? And she's had this mantle, the Queen of Automation, forever. We were just talking just before it started about the advent of AI and how she's going to protect her business. But I say that automation is the thing. And if we're going to talk about making our businesses more effective and efficient, who better to have on than the Queen of Automation? And I've been stalking her on LinkedIn for a little while, not probably doing enough likes and comments and stuff for her to know that I'm there. But anyway, I'm so pleased to have Lisa with me today. Lisa, over to you. Tell us a bit about yourself, a little bit of background, and if you can weave some goal-setting stuff in, that would be cool, but not necessary. I'll draw it out of you later.
All right, I'll do my best. So, thank you, Doug. And yes, we seem to have a Venn diagram where we cross over in a number of different areas and networks and things. So we keep cropping up on, and I see you commenting on people's posts and go, oh, I didn't know he knew him. So yes, Queen of Automation. I was dubbed that about 10 years ago as we were chatting, because when I started in automation, it kind of wasn't a thing. It was brand new. There weren't very many tools, unlike today, where it's kind of native in pretty much every bit of software that we're using. So, I mean, I've always been a bit of a geek. I became a business owner when I was 19, where back in the late 80s, and my first business was actually a roller skating rink, which was a 30,000 square foot venue in North London, Edmonton, on the Lee Valley, where I converted this roller skating rink on Friday and Saturday nights into a rave venue for 3,000 people. And I did that for about 4 years. So at the height of kind of the rave game, I was capitalising on that, which was great, exhausting, but I had, in the age I was, it was I had the energy to do it. That's slightly different from now. So there's no way I'd be able to do that now, work all night from Friday to Monday. So from there, I'm one of these people that just gets in my head, I'm just doing something. It's not even a question of how, there's not even a question of what if, it's just like something takes my fancy and I do a beeline for it, and it's just unequivocally, that's what I'm doing. As one of your other guests, Trevor G. Blake, would have said, is like, I am a ninja, and it's just like nothing else factors. So from there, I ran an animation art gallery, which was Disney authorized. So we sold Disney animation art. We were also the UK distributors for Warner Brothers and the global distributors exclusively for Pink Floyd The Wall animation. And then my world in digital started. I was very lucky to know the man that wrote the algorithm that allows us to see 3D graphics on computers. His algorithm was actually bought by Microsoft. He had me in his offices in Wardour Street at Microsoft building computers. And I kind of found my thing. I love computers, I love geeking out, and it's just everything to do with computers and software is a computer game for me. From there, I then had the first agency in the early 90s. We were the first people ever to place an advertiser in a computer game. So, which was the Coca-Cola balloon in, I think, 1990-ish, floating over the Olympic Stadium. So this is in the days of dial-up modems and floppy disks, like before the internet was properly a thing, or even online gaming. And for years we did that. We placed the advertisers in software. So we put the Adidas ball into FIFA Soccer. We did all the branding in Sony Gran Turismo. And it was in the days when the sports players in the day, Klinsmann, Desai, didn't have digital rights in their players' contracts. So if they were selling their rights into a computer game, people like Adidas retained us to make sure that in the games they were wearing their 3 stripes. So that led on to Unilever going, we don't want to be in someone else's game, we want our own game. So we made a game for Pepperami with the voice of Adrian Edmondson that was meant to go on 12 floppy disks, and then CDs arrived and we got it on 1 CD, which was innovation beyond our wildest dreams. And then we were making on-pack and in-pack computer games, promotional software. So whenever you used to see the CDs on cereal boxes, we did it for Kellogg's, Quaker, Nestle, McVitie's, all that kind of thing, in-pack, on-pack, promotional stuff. And then we made PlayStation and Xbox games for publishers in the States. So that was like my main career before I then sold the business, went to live in France with my young children, and raised them there. So that was my history. Then when I came back from France, unfortunately, due to the demise of my marriage, it was like, well, what am I going to do now? So that's when I started my automation agency in around 2011, 2012. And I got certified in what was the godfather of the software then, known as Infusionsoft, now known as Keep. My agency is actually platform agnostic. So whilst everything that I learned and all the best practices and how to implement marketing automation, and also, having owned and run a multi-seven-figure business, I might know a thing or two about running a business. So we work a lot with our clients on how to grow their business, how to implement marketing. We don't actually do it for them. So that's what we do.
But your work is platform agnostic.
So Keep awarded me, because being the busybody that I am, and I'm a great believer in just sharing knowledge. It's like the more I can put out there and help people, that's kind of my thing. I'm a bit of a people pleaser. I'm in the service industry. I like my little pat on the back and my acknowledgements. And so Keep awarded me their international service partner and also their MVP. And so then there's other awards and stuff that I've won, which is mainly for training other people to show them how we do what we do, not even our end users, but showing other automation architects how they can make sure that they're building really good quality customer journeys, not just cobbling together some bits of software, but actually planning before we build. So that's what we're known for, is design and build a customer journeys, which is building the blueprint before you actually try and put any bricks in the wall. That was a bit of a metaphor.
And a reference back to Pink Floyd.
And a reference back to Pink Floyd, a brick in the wall. Very good. I hadn't seen that one. So that's my history. That's why I am who I am. So more recently, we have sideways into SaaS. So SaaS, which is software as a service. So anything you're paying a subscription for, like Xero or Hootsuite for publishing your social media posts, that's software as a service. So there's a number of tools and stuff out there that allow us to build a system that we have designed. So we're not actually the developers, but we're able to put it all together in a system which works for different types of businesses. So when we niche, we don't necessarily niche into dentists, although we do serve dentists a lot, but we niche into different types of businesses. Are they bricks and mortar? Are they bricks and mortar appointment, bricks and mortar membership? Are they e-commerce? Are they info businesses? Are they consultants? Because there is no one size fits all when it comes to a customer journey, but there is when it comes to a type of business is going to have normally a similar kind of flow and or sales process. So that's kind of where we excel, on drilling down into those systems, not just throwing a load of tools together because the business owner thinks that it is a good idea and it's what they need. We tend to prescribe for them rather than let them self-diagnose.
Well, that's a good thing, because otherwise you stumble through it guilty and you end up with a subscription to ConvertTree and a subscription to ManyChat and a subscription to MailChimp and Zoho, and before you know it, you're £200-400 down in software subscriptions. I mean, it's like I found out the other day that Zoho, which is our CRM for my financial services business, has landing pages, which then negates the need for me to have ConvertTree, which then saves me £75 a month in ConvertTree costs. Maybe it does SMS messages and autoresponders on Instagram and stuff, in which case I can then get rid of my ManyChat subscription. And many entrepreneurs out there don't know what they don't know.
This is very true. I mean, I love this subscription game. My ops team here, I get messages. I can have a 30-minute conversation about a $30 a month subscription and whether we need it, because one of their KPIs is how much money they can save the business every month. I think they've saved an annual $13,000 in recurring subscriptions so far this year, as of the end of Q2 reporting anyway. And it's like that's what they're celebrating because of the cumulative effect. And yes, but the thing is, Doug, is that there's developments in all of these software all the time. And I'm a great believer in the software that's fit for purpose. So whilst there are software that can do your invoicing and can automatically take payments from people, they're not the accounting software. You want to use Xero or QuickBooks or Sage for that. You want to use the fit for purpose. So this is where the design comes in. And what will happen is businesses will get to a certain level naturally. And it is only natural to go, oh, well, I need to do email marketing. Let me Google that and see what people are saying. And then they go, oh, well, I need landing pages, step in, ConvertKit. And how am I now going to connect that to MailChimp so that when people opt in, it's then sending an email? And it's not until you've got enough gaffer tape and duct tape in the system holding everything together, and that you're feeling enough pain of like, I'm spending way too much time trying to connect or transfer data between the systems, you know that you have a problem. And this is the thing is, are people solution aware or are they problem aware? How, if people are online, they will see that there are solutions, and we like to have as much in one place as possible, because connecting two things together, because it creates a point of failure if you have that integration. So the most that we can reduce that, but often times we will find that the problem lies within the mindset of the business. People are stuck in their ways, they don't want to adopt new software, they don't want to onboard staff into it because they feel it'd be too disruptive to the day-to-day of the business, and it's a very short-term mindset versus the long-term gains. Because I'm a great believer in something that I call incremental is exponential. If I can save, and I did this for a business, if I can save someone 5 minutes 12 times a day, that's an hour. If I can do that every day of the week for them, that's 5 hours a week, which is 25 hours a month. You extrapolate that, that is 30 full 8-hour working days a year. That's a month's worth of someone's time that has been saved just by scooping up these 5 minutes here and there. And I did it for a company where in their sales process, I think I saved their sales team, 4 hours a week, each team member. So that was 16 hours of time saved, clients being served and data being captured that they hadn't had before. And that kind of exponential gain to a business, it can take it off the scale.
What sort of investment, I nearly said cost, what sort of investment would that take to, and you're going to go, well, I need to see the business first to be able to say.
What we do something called a customer journey mapping, where we literally, I'll get on a call with the business owner for 60 to 90 minutes. And I've been doing this long enough, like it's like, what questions to ask. And we develop the customer journey through the business. So we break it down into 9 phases and 3 stages. So we're looking at, in the first stage of when you're capturing leads, is that, well, who's your avatar? Who are you actually speaking to? Because in some businesses, you're going to have more than one. I used to have a plumbing and heating business, and we had residential customers, we had letting agents and landlords, and we had commercial. And you're going to be having different conversations with each. So who are you talking to? Where are you talking to them? Is it Facebook? Is it YouTube? Whatever. Are you capturing them? At each point of capture, whether it is on a Facebook Messenger or a chatbot or a web form or a WhatsApp or an inbound SMS, is that automated is it being captured and nurtured and engaged with? Are you making them the offer? Have you got a robust sales process where you're actually following up with people rather than going, oh yeah, I'm just going to look at my sent items and see when I last spoke to that person. And then once you convert them, we go into the fulfillment of what does the onboarding look like? What's the experience they're having? Is there any upsell, cross-sell, added value? And how are we going to get reviews, testimonials, case studies in order to show how great we are at what we do to get people back to the beginning of the process. So once we do that map and we look at all the reporting required so people know if it's working or not and what's on track, off track or at risk, and KPIs and scorecards and such, we can then look at what technology they're using and what technology they actually need, and then look at what needs to bring focus to it. So that whole process, depending on the size of the business, has a £3,000 to £5,000 investment. But from that, we have the playbook. We now know what the blueprint is and where the biggest wins are today to save time or increase revenue immediately. And then we start to build that out of going, okay, here's the statement of works to make this bit happen, which is going to save you this much time. And we break it down over time. So we normally, on that service, which is called our Ideal Customer Journey service, will work with people for a minimum of 6 months. I've had clients that have been with me for 7 or 8 years, because once they've fixed all the gaps and where money is dribbling out of the business, they want to then grow the business. So for one of our clients who's been with us for at least 5 years, we've just done an automated WhatsApp response for him. So the minute that someone comes in, they get automated WhatsApp responses. No one has to do anything. And as technology evolves and the business evolves, people, stay with us, or they fly solo and they come back to us when they need us. We also have, as I say, the SaaS product, where we have pre-built some of these systems that, especially for dentists, appointment-based bricks and mortar businesses that have inquiries coming in from everywhere and very busy front of house staff. We know what that problem is that we're solving for. So we've just gone, this is the system you need. We spend 1 hour with them plugging it in, and then they're away for a couple of £100 a month. They've got this system that does all of their capture, initial engagement nurture, make sure that they've got their sales process nailed down with, email marketing thrown in for good measure.
What a pitch, everybody!
Was it? You just asked me. So my brain's a little bit like the Matrix, It's like it just kind of sees connections. So
no, look, one of the purposes of my podcast, right, is to show people what's out there and showcase who I think are the best people out there to provide the stuff that people need. I haven't got the demographics for my thing. It's my podcast. I've got no clue who my followers are. It was a vanity project to start with. And here I am, 3 years in, I think, week in, week out, coming up with the goodies for people. So I've got no problem with that. That was just a little tease, right? And I would have given you the opportunity at the end to do it anyway. We've just thrown it in the middle. So that's cool. But this is the Goals Do Come True podcast. So have you got any big, hairy, audacious goals that you're working on or have completed already? Aside from turning a roller skating rink into a club.
Well, yeah, there are some, yes. I mean,
that you're prepared to share, because obviously sometimes we have little secret projects that,
No, well, yes. I mean,
we haven't signed the NDA on yet.
Yeah. There is. I did retire in my mid-30s, so being able to down tools, and that was, my husband and I were able to stop working, was amazing. To raise my children in rural south of France. We lived in a village with 2,000 people. There's 160 kids in the school, and it was literally, it's like that kind of picture book French rural 11th century village, which was amazing. My daughter, who's now 21, will reflect on how it was properly a fairy tale upbringing. So that was amazing. The goals that I have is, right now I am over the other side of 50, and I am. And I'm creating the business that is a business of choice. Now, anyone that knows me, and I go, yeah, I'm creating the business I've been very busy systemizing my own business and all the SOPs, and creating a business that doesn't require me to be here, that it can run completely without me. And that's a lot of what the SaaS product is about, because obviously the concierge service that we have of guiding people through their customer journey, diagnosing what they need and designing the automations and configurations that they'll need to be a success. And whilst there are other automation engineers out there, and I have partnered with many and I pass a lot of work on to them as well, ultimately it's what's in my head and my experience that really brings the value to that premium service. So it's like, well, okay, well, how do I get out of Dodge alive? So that's what we're building at the moment, is building the business that will have the 6-figure monthly revenue that will allow me to step away and have it as choice. Now, people go, financial freedom is the answer. This is where I'm at. I challenge that sometimes, because financial freedom, it's like people go, yeah, you're never going to stop, Lisa. And they're right, because my brain is just, having so many ideas all the time. But it's a question of choice versus need, of having the choice to work and do a project versus the having to do the project. But what I also discovered when we're talking about goals is it's not about financial freedom, because when I sit down and I look at my life and I go, well, what do you want? Which is one of the hardest questions to answer. Is that, well, what do you actually want? People go, well, I want financial freedom. I speak to my 24-year-old son, and he just goes, well, I want the Rolex and I want the yacht. And I'm just like, just I've been there, and it's just literally, it's so underwhelming when you actually get what you think you want. So if you break it down into health, wealth and relationships, and then I look at look at wealth, and I go, well, okay, well, what does wealth, financial wealth this is? Because I know that abundance of life wealth is included in that. What does it look like? What cash flow do I want? What savings do I want? And investments? What is my financial wealth? And when I was doing that, I was going, I'm really uninspired, because I thought it started with financial freedom. And I went, oh, okay, but if I haven't got the relationships in place to share that wealth with, then, it's not going to be fun to have that money. So then I'm looking at relationships and I'm going, okay, familial relationships, work relationships, children, intimate, whatever those relationships are, what do they look like? What does a 10 out of 10 on that look like? By the way, the relationship with myself was way down the list. And then what I found recently actually is it's the health. It's looking at what my health looked like, what my own mental health, my fitness, my activities, what does my health look like? Because that for me, I think is the source of it all now, of where I'm at. It's getting my health up to a level where I can enjoy the relationships, have the energy. When in the future I become a grandma, is that I am there and present, have the time to be able to invest and not be like too busy or, something else, and have the choice. So for me now, my goals, my hairy audacious goals, is my health. And I have been really doing a lot of investment in that, whether it's the Zoe patch of really diving into how my body and biology works optimally for me, tracking my stats, keeping my exercise up. I am not someone that enjoys going to the gym, and it's not something that I, naturally go, yay, gym. I'm not that guy. So, looking at that, of how I can impact my health. And what all of that actually wraps up into for me is the role model that I want to be for my kids, is showing them who they can be in themselves, that will create the life for themselves, not complaining. Mentality control, mentality protection, being able to handle their own anxiety. The background that I come from, and I think the era that I come from, and as a Gen X, is there is a stigma around mental health, and being able to say, I'm struggling or I'm feeling anxious. It's, we're very stiff upper lip and get over it and get on with it kind of thing. So doing the work that allows them to show that vulnerability isn't a weakness. And so there's a lot been going on for me around mental health and physical health, in order that I can show up best in my relationships, which I believe will have a knock-on effect to my lifestyle and my financial freedom.
Amazing. I'm with you on the health thing, because I'm 61 now, and it's the doc said, come and have a blood pressure test.
Yes.
All right. Okay. And well, that always going to heighten your blood pressure anyway, isn't it?
Well,
yeah. Before you walk in.
To be fair.
So and then I had a 24-hour one, because obviously I didn't pass the test walking in there and having one. It's like, okay, right. Now I've got the blood tests being done. It's like, for flip's sake. So, since that, it's like I've done a 1-hour walk every morning since. I had a serious motorcycle accident a year ago, so I can't run as I used to run previously, because I broke my foot along with various other bones. So it's like, you're right in so much as this is the most important part of us.
It goes kind of beyond that. I've been to a naturopathic doctor lately, which was amazing, because I'm like, but my blood tests say this, and she goes, well, they're not looking at what's going on a cellular level. And it has been so revealing for me around, like, if I could say one thing to my younger self, it's like, what's the piece of advice you'd give your younger self? And I say this to my kids all the time. I know they don't listen, and youth is wasted on the young, which is something my grandma said. But it's like, there's one thing, which is look after your body now. Your body and your teeth, you get one go. There is no reset. There is no 3 lives. It's like everything that you can do to look after your body. And I'm definitely come to the party late. And I wish that I knew then what I know now. But it's interesting what you say about the going for the walk every day. And we've discussed the fact that we both have dogs. And I'm so grateful for my dogs, because come hell or high water, rain or sun, and let's face it, in the UK, we can have both of those in the same day,
Same hour.
It's my walks, it's the walks in nature, is actually trying to train myself not to send myself those voice notes, because my brain goes into overdrive just because it can. But the walks in nature and really trying to appreciate the calmness. My brother actually, one time when I was going, because I did the miracle morning for a while, it's like, get up and I do this and I meditate and then I journal and then I go and I do my exercise and all this. He goes, oh my God, can you just stop and smell the flowers for a second? So bringing that stillness in to really appreciate what's going on, trying to commune with nature in the hippie sense of just like, isn't this beautiful? Just really trying to connect energetically with what's going on around me. That calmness that brings has really helped set me up with the right mindset for my day, of just not always like, what's the next thing, what's the next thing, what's the next thing. Is allowing that moment of stillness to come in has been incredibly helpful for my mindset. And it's the mindset and the mentality that really, for me, is the beginning of everything.
So I'm going to step into that. When you're walking, do you listen to a podcast or does your phone get left behind?
Well, I take my phone with me. I would never leave the house.
For safety's sake.
For safety purposes. But I'm finding more and more now that even on long drives, and I go to Warwick twice a quarter and I go down to Hampshire, is that I will do that in silence. And I will allow myself not to be distracted. I do like a good audio book and I do like a good podcast, but more and more now I'm actually just allowing myself, I go, oh, shall I call this person? I'm like, no. And there's a certain amount of discipline that has to go with it. I'm not sure it's like running away from myself. It's like distraction. It's like, are we scared of being with our own thoughts and what might come up? And there's nothing more frustrating than that happened to me the other day, of having an epiphany whilst I was swimming, because then I was really stuck. Sometimes I do find that music, I've got playlists on my Spotify that if energetically I'm feeling down, I need to change my state or something, that I've got a playlist that will uplift me. And I'm self-diagnosed ADHD. I listen to an audiobook and I'm not listening to the audiobook because my mind is elsewhere. So I'm creating a space to allow my mind to be elsewhere and allow my mind to just do its thing, of not go, oh no, you need to be focused on one thing at a time, but let it just go off at all the different directions and tangents and segues that it wants to.
Well, that's important, but how do you pull that back in? Because I'm sensing that there's something going on. You know, I've had an autism test because one of my sons is autistic and it wasn't conclusive. And I don't know if there is a test for ADHD, or is it just, you know, it's like I've got so many fingers in so many pies and I just have to have. And I saw a post this morning and it was like how a guy measures his investments, because we're both in the same investment group. And it's like, for his break-even point, he had a yellow line. Why would you have a yellow line? You know, it's got to be blue. Right? and the positives have got to be green and the negatives have got to be red. It's like, surely everybody knows that.
Let me just overlay everything that I know and make it an absolute gift. Well, it's interesting because I have these conversations with my mother a lot, who works very much on implied communication, of thinking that everybody thinks the way that she does. I have a great belief that pretty much all of us are on the spectrum somewhere. I have a nephew who's diagnosed Asperger's, who is amazing. And I think, even though he was diagnosed late, and I had this conversation with him last week, is when you know and you can then have the mechanisms in place to support you in that, if you're missing social cues, if you're feeling anxious or uncomfortable. I think it doesn't matter if you're diagnosed or not. My whole business was founded on my ADHD coping mechanisms and having a hook by the front door. I mean, I'm so absent-minded. Literally this morning when I was in the shower, I had put conditioner on my hair before the shampoo because I'm not paying attention. And I put the ground coffee in the mug like it's instant because I'm not paying attention. So it's about really understanding where the problems are for you, what needs solving for you. And I've trained my kids, who are equally ADHD to me in different ways. I have a hook by the front door, and it's habits. It's forming the habits that work. Come in the front door, the keys always go on the hook. use your bank card. It always goes back in the wallets. These are like non-negotiables that you train yourself into to protect yourself. And likewise with my business, how do I pull it back in is I have a project board, and whether you do this on a notepad or whatever, where I have a repository of all my ideas, that blog I want to write, that project I want to start, that chapter of the book. And what I find is having a single place where I can download everything that's in my head, and then I time block my diary. One thing that I have found particularly prevalent is if I'm doing strategic thinking work, and sitting down and actually doing the thinking is like one of the hardest things, because you want to do anything else other, needs to be the first thing you do in the day. The minute that I go into anything tactical, or what I call the dopamine roller coaster of ticking stuff off and getting that stuff done and answering emails, is the minute that any strategic thinking is done. Protect yourself from yourself. Turn off your notifications. Now, this is rocket science. Turn off your notifications, mute your phone, whatever it is, so that you have this focus time. So in our business here, we use Slack for our internal communications. Is someone will say, I'm having focus time, which means I am not going to be answering anything, so save it up. Is training staff, customers, colleagues, whatever it might be, into how you work, that you are not just readily available at the drop of the hat, and training yourself not to be that guy that is just going to always respond. So by time blocking my diary that Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, 9 to 11 is strategic thinking time. And then it's like, well, pre-planning what I want to think about. So we have quarterly planning where we go, this is what we want to achieve this quarter. These are the things, the critical drivers that need to happen in order to do that. And having time blocked and knowing where you need to go in order to get the information of what you're doing next. You can reduce the number of brain calories that you're having to burn by having systems like this in place, so that when it comes time to write a blog, I go to where I keep the blog ideas list and I just go, well, this is the one I want to do. Or I go to my list of things I want to do and I go, this is what I'm doing today. I also got blogs on this where I've written the Scrum methodology of going, well, how long is this task going to take? Is it extra small, less than an hour? Is it small, 1 to 2 hours? Is it medium, 2 to 4 hours? Is it large, a full day, or extra large, over a day? So that you can then go, well, I want to do that, and then you block out the time in your diary to get it done. So it's these kinds of mechanisms that I've put in place that give me permission to have the thought, create a repository of whatever that is, and then know that I have the time blocked out to go and pull that into being without it disrupting something that I've already committed to or made an agreement about.
Wow.
But you just had a little insight into how my brain works. That's how I pull it back in, and that's how I get this much stuff done, as well as having learned how to delegate well. And this was a process because, and if you haven't read it, you should, the Multipliers book by Liz Wiseman. I am an accidental diminisher, whether it's asking someone to do something and then diving in and doing it myself. Learning how to delegate effectively is a game changer, and giving yourself permission to delegate rather than go, well, I'll just do it myself, it'll only take 5 minutes, because it's not. The switch in time that it takes to switch into that task, get the task done and then switch out of it is bigger than the 5 minutes it will take. And there is the trade of what you should have been doing in that time. So there's a lot of discipline, habit forming, and underpinning systems like time blocking and knowing how to delegate well. Another Scrum one of, what's the definition of done, and, the timeline that you want it done in. That is how I pull it all back in, which was the answer to your original question.
I know that if we had nothing else in our diaries, we would be chatting all day long.
Yes.
But we can't do that, unfortunately, which is a shame. It's a big shame. So I'm going to ask you for a Lisa Catto, the Queen of Automation, goal-setting nugget, something that the world needs to know about goals and goal setting that we haven't touched on already.
Okay, a goal without a plan is a whip. So if you have a goal and you really want to achieve it, then you need to sit down and do the thinking time around what it's going to take to achieve it realistically. And then whatever time you think it's going to take, double it. So if you want to achieve X, is understanding what resources are required for that. Stop trying to be an expert at something you're not. So don't start going and learning new skills and watching YouTube videos, but find somebody to collaborate with who's already knows as an expert in that thing. Don't start learning SEO or how to do your own Facebook ads or, how to set up your own Google Analytics with GA4. That is not a good use of your time. So know what the goal is, what the definition of success of that goal is. Then look at what resources are going to be required to deliver it. And then you need to actually plan out the critical drivers that will be required for that to happen. That's what I'd say is plan it properly. Don't just kind of go, I want to achieve X and then be wavering around. Give it the proper thinking time to plan it out properly and put the time in your diary and respect that time in your diary. Otherwise you don't stand a chance.
I think that's a very, very important time, is respect the time in the diary. Because it's so very easy to put these things in and think, oh, it'll be there next week, so I'll pick it up next week.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And if you don't treat it like the doctor's appointment where you're having heart surgery and something else is going to supersede it or be more important, if you really want to achieve that goal, and also to understand why you want to achieve that goal, and believe in that. So whatever that goal is, that the lifestyle it's going to create or the impact it's going to create, and live in that. It's like, what is the vision of the picture that you want to create? And I say this all the time to people, is don't worry necessarily about the how. If you can live as the person that has already achieved that goal energetically, what's my life going to look like? How am I going to feel about my life? What am I going to be doing day to day once I'm there? And create like a movie of that in your mind and live in that as if it's happening now, then everything will kind of fall into line. But you have to make it important enough for you have to believe in it enough to make it important enough. Otherwise, it's just going to be one of those things that gathers dust that was somebody else is going to pick up and go, well, I had that idea, and you just never made it happen. So, and it's difficult for those of us whose brains are hopping all over the place. You have to train yourself, and no one said it was easy, and if it was, everyone would be doing it.
Well, that's true enough as well.
Yeah.
So we're going to bring this to a close shortly, but is there anything that you thought, do you know what, I need to get that out when I'm on Doug's podcast, and you haven't yet?
I've been very much in flow on this podcast. I think self-examination of really looking at what you want, asking yourself that difficult question of what do you want, and breaking it down into health, wealth and relationships. Do the work. Stop expecting that just because you have the idea that somehow it's going to, just immediately appear in your life, whether it's the design of it or whether it's the mental health practices or looking after your own health to create it. You are the master of the design of your own life, and you need to take responsibility for that.
Perfect. Lisa, it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you, albeit virtually, because obviously I've, as I said, stalked you.
We've circled around each other, and we have been on virtual calls before with one another.
We have, yes. We have, actually, yes. I can recall that now. But it's been an absolute blast.
Thank you.
And I'm going to say one of the best podcast episodes I've recorded, because, honestly, because it's like there's so much packed in this episode that is beyond goals and goal setting and stuff. And, I've got goosebumps on my arm here, and my hairs have gone on. And so I'm going to thank you for that too. It's been a blast and a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.